Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member Jay, and it is a lovely Wednesday afternoon here in Florida. We got hurricane coming. Well, not really. Everybody got all like crazy today. Hurricane weather. It's not even. We're not even getting like tropical like barely any wind. No rain at all as of yet here in Orlando. It's all going up the Gulf. It's unfortunately those guys in the Panhandle hoping for the best for you if you are up in that area. But Ben, good to see you, my friend, and I can't wait to see you guys in just over a week. Just over a week, because what happens in just over a week? Halcy-Con, the first ever Galactic Star Cruiser fan convention. Yeah, like what is it, like 600 people or so, I believe, around that much. Cast, crew, passengers, all sorts of people coming. Can't wait for that. I am actually going to be on not one, but two panels at Halcy-Con, and I'm going to be helping with volunteering for the event. So just super excited to be there. Can't wait for this. It's going to be so much fun. Um, I'm kind of blown away. Both of my panels, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. If anybody who is going is watching this, Friday afternoon or Friday morning, the food experience. I can't food from the future. Love it. So excited to be picked for that panel, and I'm a little out of my league actually, because I got some wonderful people on the panel with me, and I can't wait to get up there and talk about the Galactic Star Cruiser and the food experience and just how it just impacts us in our lives. So can't wait for that. And in the actual like big, like I was like, what? We're in the like the big area. Can't believe that. Kind of a little bit freaking out about that, but yeah, I just so excited about that. And then 11 o'clock on Saturday, I believe as well. Going to be up there with some cast members with Mike Emke from Wookie Radio moderating. So good friend of mine. Can't wait to be there and do that with him and just talk about the experience of Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. It's going to be so much fun, and just seeing everybody. It's going to be great. Can't wait for that. Oh, it's so exciting. Anyway, we're going to talk about some things today. We're going to go back in history. We're going to look at, well, we're kind of revisit somebody because of what today is and talk a lot about this person who is a big part of Star Wars, a big part of Star Wars. And so, yeah, we'll get to that. That's part of Not Long Ago in This Galaxy, which I do every day now on my YouTube channel. Just so if you are kind of curious as to where my live stream went on Instagram, I no longer do it from Instagram. I do it from YouTube now because I do this from YouTube. Throw it up here on YouTube. I know it will save a lot longer than on my Instagram page. So I wanted to keep track of that stuff. So it is now on my YouTube channel. So I go live almost every day talking about a little bit of Star Wars history. And yeah, so and then you can watch the past ones in the little channel here under the Crucial Crew member, or the playlist for Not Long Ago in This Galaxy, and look back and see what's happened in Star Wars history. So yeah, so that's a little thing that I do every day, but we're going to do that tonight in a bit, and then talk a little bit about Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, maybe, and then maybe some more about the Halcy-Con event, and what exciting things are going to happen. But if you noticed, I threw up a couple questions there, because there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. Because today, not long ago in this galaxy, um, Mark Hamill, who, I mean, obviously he is Star Wars almost, really, right? The main hero of Star Wars, Mr. Luke Skywalker, but has done so many other things, and he was born today in 1951. Crazy. I actually didn't. I always forget how old he is. And it's these. actors from Star Wars. They're just getting up there. But yeah, it just I really just want to kind of go into detail about this guy right here, Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, amazing piece of Star Wars history. If it weren't for Mark Hamill, obviously, I mean, we wouldn't have our main hero, Luke Skywalker. So just everybody's favorite hero. I mean, a lot of people's favorite character, Luke Skywalker, especially if you grew up with the trilogies. I would say that from the original trilogy, it's my second favorite of the heroes of the rebels. Um, I was a big I was a big Han Solo fan, but Mark Hamill, really amazing. I do love Harrison Ford though, but Mark Hamill is just right up there. What a great guy. As far as the fans go, I mean, Mark Hamill's done so much with the fans, and I've actually been able to see him live. At my first Star Wars celebration, which was amazing. He did a panel. Because it was kind of sadly, right after Carrie Fisher had passed away, and he did a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and it was an amazing panel. So beautiful and so great, and it was great to just hear him talk about the stories and just the person that she was and the amazing person she was. But Mark Hamill, in kind of prepping for this, I kind of found out a lot of things about Mark Hamill that I did not know. I always thought he was just always a California guy. I didn't realize he had so much East Coast presence when growing up. He actually grew up kind of not far from where I used to live and from where my wife actually lives. So yeah, so I did not realize he was much of an East Coast person. But Mark Richard Hamill, born today, September 25th, 1951, and yeah, I mean, we know him as Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy, the sequel trilogies, and coming back for that. But he's done just so many things, and I went back and I watched some of those things today. But just curious, what's your favorite Luke Skywalker moment? What is your favorite Luke Skywalker moment? Um, I would say for me, my favorite Luke Skywalker moment. Um, was the time in Return of the Jedi, when he basically just kind of almost like you think that the Emperor thinks he has him, and as soon as he like basically comes back, he defeats Darth Vader, chops off his arm, and looks down, kind of realizes that little bit that he may be succumbing. He's almost like taking that path and realizing that the seduction is taking place, to basically replace his father at the Emperor's hand. And then when basically Emperor Palpatine says to him that very thing, he throws that lightsaber away. And basically just stands up, never, I am a Jedi like my father before me. I love that moment. That is probably my favorite Luke Skywalker moment, because I think he kind of realizes to an extent. I think he knows that there's no way he's going to beat the Emperor. I really don't think thinks he has any chance there. I think there's a part of him that knows that there's a little bit more to the Emperor than what it seems, and he almost feels that he's not going to win. But he does know that the rebellion is going to win. He knows that he's just biding time, distraction, that his friends are going to blow up the Death Star, and he's willing to sacrifice himself with that. And I think that really defines him as a hero in that moment. Um, so that is my favorite Luke Skywalker moment. I don't know if anybody else has a Luke Skywalker moment, but if you feel free and inclined to throw that up there, even if you're watching this later, I'd love to see those comments come through. But that is my favorite Luke Skywalker moment. But going back with some, I'll leave that up there just in case anybody else joins in. But going back to his upbringing, he he actually grew up in actually had a lot of his childhood in near Williamsburg, or not yeah, in Williamsburg, Virginia, which is very close to where where I am from. I'm from Maryland, and we used to go down to Williamsburg. Williamsburg is a great little town, a lot of history there, and he attended Washington Academy in Williamsburg, Virginia, and also Edgar Allan Poe Middle School in Annandale, Virginia. I actually have been there as well. A lot of history in those areas. And at age 11 was when he moved to San Diego, California, where he attended Hale Junior High School. And then um, during his first year at James Madison High School in San Diego, his family moved back to Virginia. And Hamill attended Annandale High School there. By his junior year, his father was stationed because his father was in the Navy, basically. So that's why he kind of moved back and forth between East Coast and West Coast. And he there attended or his father was stationed in Japan by his junior year, so that's what he actually moved to Japan, which is kind of interesting. Like we got a lot of connections to Japan coming up. Star Wars Celebration coming to Japan next April. Kind of curious if we haven't heard any announcement of him being there yet, but I don't know like how tight Mark Hamill is with Japan. You know, does he have a soft spot for going back to Japan? Will he be there? That would be an amazing thing if Mark Hamill was to show himself at Star Wars Celebration in Japan. I would love that. It would be amazing to see him there. He has kind of not had a big presence in the Star Wars celebrations um, in a while. He's popped up here and there, but he's not really been on any panels or been a big part of Star Wars Celebration since really Orlando was a really big one for him. Did a lot at that one, and especially having his own panel of his own and things like that. But I would love to see him actually do that again and just hear him speak. He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun on a panel to listen to. So, but yeah, so he did spend some time in Japan. He attended and was a member of the drama club at Niall C. Kinnock High School, and that is where he graduated in 1969. So, so yeah. Let's see, what do we got here? Ben throwing out his favorite Luke Skywalker moment, the cave scene. He sees himself in Vader, and yes, I love that as well. That is cool. That again, that's one of those things that like I love the conflict within him because he never really got the best Jedi training, and he started older, which there's been a lot of controversy on if that's the right way or not, especially with Ahsoka and that scene with Ahsoka and Huyang about Sabine's training, and the acceptance of when can you start the Jedi training, especially with Anakin in the prequels and just certain things back and forth on, when is too old to start training, who is the right person to train and things like that. And Luke was a lot older when he began his training, which Yoda brought up. And yeah, it's just like depends on, his what his desires are, what is the reason, and they did have big flaws in their dogma, right? And Yoda kind of holding true to those, but Luke kind of showing a little bit, um, kind of realizing, and you see it in his face, the fear of that, the fear of the dark side, the path. You know, is he going down that path? The choices he might have to make. So it's really interesting, and it's almost kind of like a premonition of Vader telling him that he's his father, because which is kind of confusing for him in a way too, because he doesn't know that yet, and he sees his face under Vader's mask, and he just doesn't really fully grasp the meaning of that as of yet. Probably looking back on it afterwards, after the reveal in Empire Strikes Back, and maybe even all the way at the end after Return of the Jedi, maybe going back to that vision, that premonition, and realizing a little bit more about what that meant. I think a lot of times you don't realize, or those characters don't realize the full extent, the full meaning of their visions until after they actually happen. They have the kind of the wrong idea, but really it's not really the wrong idea, but it's the imperfection of what they think it means. Because maybe what they want to think it means might be different than what it actually means. So uh, what the Force is trying to tell them, basically. So pretty interesting. Proof of his strong connection. It definitely was proof of his strong connection to the Force. Um, I think he was still grasping with that at that moment, not really feeling the connection with the Force as of yet. Really understanding that. Um, I think that was something that he kind of maybe kind of understood after his confrontation with Vader. You know, his survival. You know, that the Force was with him. I think was a big part. You know, going up against somebody that strong and intense, and then also um, surviving the not only the duel itself, but also the revelation of who Darth Vader was, and surviving that whole thing. I think really is what got Luke to finally realize that he did have a strong connection to the Force. But I think that was a beginning. The cave scene. A lot of information in Luke Skywalker, but still a lot of flaws in his character as well, which really made him human. You know, he wasn't perfect with the Force. He wasn't as strong as Anakin. But I think we all wanted him to be stronger in the end. Maybe prequel or in the sequels. That was one of the big issues people had with his return. But we'll go back a little bit about his Mark Hamill's history. I was trying to, man, I wish that some of these things were available to stream, but there's really not much of his like early work like stream and things like. Most of them are just not available. But really, his first appearance, kind of on film, mainly. And talking about basically his first stint with television was in 1970 on a show called Headmaster, which was an Andy Griffith series, which I don't think I've ever heard of this. I don't think I've ever watched it. I was a big Andy Griffith show fan. I love that show. Big fan of that. Kind of a stint between and after the Andy Griffith show, and apparently he was on one episode called The Experiment, October 30th, 1970. So I think, unless I'm wrong, doing my research, I think that was his first acting job, at least with anything that was like that aired somewhere that somebody might remember. Also, and you can't get this anymore, and maybe there's reasons for that. But it was the first go around of the Bill Cosby Show, not the second one. This one actually was in black and white, and it was in an episode called The Poet, and that was December 20th, 1970. So both of those episodes featured Mark Hamill in them. Wish I could go and watch them. There's probably reasons why none of those are anywhere found, but wish we could go and just like find those things. Now, his first film debut was in Star Wars, but there's a little asterisk on that one because he did actually do a voice acting work in film on a animated film called Wizards, and I was trying to find this as well because I'd never seen this movie, but apparently he played kind of a big part as far as voice acting in this movie. But it was an animated post-apocalyptic science fantasy film. Kind of like, honestly, I was reading about this movie Wizards, and kind of want to see it because it seems like it might be kind of up my alley. But again, 1977 was when this one came out, so you got to think about the animation style back then and what it was like. But he played a character called Sean, who was the son of the king of the mountain fairies and captain of the guards. And basically, this was made around the same time George Lucas cast him in Star Wars as Luke Skywalker. So it actually was released February 9th, 1977. So it was his first film debut, although it was just his voice. So his first actual film debut acting was obviously Star Wars. Went on to do the Star Wars Holiday Special, which you can find on YouTube. That little show that we all love to, or hate to love. I think hate to love. I don't think love to hate, because I don't hate it. I just hate that I love it, because it is so awful, but it is so, just, you have to watch it almost every year. I don't know. I just keep watching it every year. Uh, and it just, I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. I like have to watch it. But it is enjoyable to just to love, even though it's so bad. But yeah. I did go back and watch the Muppet Show episode today, which is so funny. One of my favorite, honestly, and I'm going to go ahead and throw up the other question there, um, because the other question kind of goes with this, and this is one of my other favorite. This is probably one of my top favorite Mark Hamill cameos or appearances outside of Star Wars was the Muppet Show, which you can watch this episode on Disney Plus, which is great. It's one of those episodes that is available. You can go back and watch them. I love watching the classic Muppet Show episodes. Some of them you cannot watch because of content. Just is not acceptable in this time of day and age, and some of the episodes are very shortened because of certain skits have been taken out. But yeah, the Muppet Show. In case you're curious, I think I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't, but no, I didn't. But I love the fact that he plays himself and Luke Skywalker, and both of them in the show are separate beings. So they're actually saying, that Luke Skywalker is real and Mark Hamill is a different person, and they kind of call themselves cousins, which is it's so much fun. My wife actually was watching it with me today, and I know she's watched it with me before, but she was laughing at it. It's still timeless to watch it. C-3PO, R2-D2 also cameo, as well as Chewbacca. They do pigs in space segments, and just so much fun with it. It is it's it's a lot of fun to watch. Also, there's a little segment with Skeeter playing the guitar, and they do have a little bit of background um, Easter eggs for Star Wars. There's a Mark Hamill autographed poster on Skeeter's wall, as well as a poster of an upside down uh, Star Destroyer, which is a lot of fun to see those little things just kind of stuck in there with an episode that is dedicated to the stars of Star Wars, which is what the episode was called. Um, the other funny thing was kind of almost a prelude to Star Wars getting sold to Disney. Was at the end of the episode when they do their kind of big musical number. They all sing "When You Wish Upon a Star," and the castle comes up in the back, and there's fireworks and everything. And it's kind of a fun nod that who knew that was gonna happen, and Star Wars was gonna get sold to Disney in the future. But these early things, signs of things to come. Which is kind of a fun thing to be able to do. Another thing that you cannot watch, but I remember watching this one when I was younger, was The Flash, because I was always a comic book nerd growing up as well, and I loved the anytime something came on TV that was like comic book, which wasn't a lot back then. We didn't get those things growing up, but in 1991, the Flash had a villain called the Trickster, Jesse James, and this villain was played by none other than Mark Hamill, which was so cool because as a Star Wars fan, knowing that he was going to be the villain, next week's episode, and you saw Mark Hamill, and you're like, what? No way! Was so cool to be able to see that, and this kind of was his like really first like push into doing anything comic book related, because he did a lot after that, going into like voice acting and things like that, and this was like his first stint with that, which is really cool. And it was only I think one episode that he was the villain in. So, but then he did return later in the later version of the Flash, from the 2015 2016 series. he did come back and still played the trickster again, which was so cool to be able to see that, him basically connect with that series. And you can watch that one. That one's still streaming around and things like that. Another thing that I was trying to look for today, couldn't find it to stream either, is Third Rock from the Sun. I never was a big fan of that show, but apparently he played himself on that series in 1997. Right before this podcast, I watched the Saturday Night Live episode because I kind of remembered it, but I didn't. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember this. It was a Saturday Night Live episode. It was, I can't remember which season it was, but it was, Sting was the host. Veruca Salt, which is a great band, love that band, was the band guest for that show. And it was like an auction for Star Wars. Will Ferrell and what's his name? He played Mr. Peepers, which was one of the funniest skits with the opening act with him and Sting. I forgot all about that episode, but I totally remember this episode when I watched it. Chris Kattan, that's right. Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell were Star Wars fans auctioning off Star Wars memorabilia, and they were auctioning off Mark Hamill, actually, which was so funny. And they had some callers calling in to see if it was the real Mark Hamill. Somebody had called in and asked for, I think it was. It was no, they asked him to say "May the Force be with you," which, fun fact, Mark Hamill never says "May the Force be with you" in the original series. So he says that, and they're just like, "Well, just say it anyway," and he says it, and then Tim Meadows calls in. It is the voice of Tim Meadows that calls in and asks him to say, "Luke, I am your father," which again, misquoted scene. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. That is not the actual phrase that's said by Darth Vader. It's "No, I am your father," not "Luke, I am your father." But again, misquoted in Saturday Night Live, and he does it in his best Darth Vader voice. And Tim Meadows on the other line goes, "No, that's not Mark Hamill," or "That's the worst impression ever," or whatever, and hangs up. Which is so funny because Tim Meadows, as we know, ends up doing a cameo in The Mandalorian season 3 as Colonel Tuttle, and it's so funny to see his. And we all know that he loves Star Wars. He's a big fan of Star Wars. He's always been known to say that, put that out there. So yeah, Mark Hamill's little cameo on Saturday Night Live, a lot of fun. He also played himself on the sitcom Just Shoot Me in 1998. I don't remember that either, and I watched that show. He did, and I don't know if I've ever seen this this documentary, but he did a documentary. He was the host of a documentary in 2015 called "The Evolution of the Lightsaber Duel," which I've yet to kind of look up, but I really want to look into that and see what that series is. That sounds pretty interesting. He was the host of a series called Pop Culture Quest, which I don't remember that either. That aired from 2016 to 2017. He did a cameo on Mystery Science Theater in 2017 as well as a character called PT Mindslap in the episode Carnival Magic, which I'm gonna have to go back and watch that because I don't remember that. He played in the season finale of Nightcap, which I don't remember that series. That was in 2017. I just watched all the Big Bang Theory episodes recently, and for some reason, I am blanking on the Mark Hamill episode. But apparently, he did a cameo of himself in 2018 on the Big Bang Theory. And then, of course, we know that he came back to Star Wars a couple of times. Obviously, we know he came back in The Force Awakens as a cameo at the very end. We heard he was coming back, thought it was going to be a big number, and then went through the whole entire movie. Didn't get any Mark Hamill, didn't get any Luke Skywalker, just hearing about him. Where is he? And then we get him just at the end, didn't say a thing, and then the movie ended. So it's just that quick cameo in The Force Awakens. Last Jedi played a bigger part, A lot of people didn't like it. I love The Last Jedi. I'm sorry if you hate it. That's your thing. I'm not going to say anything. Everybody has their love and hate with Star Wars. I love The Last Jedi. Thought it was the best of the sequel series. But Luke Skywalker, big part in The Last Jedi, and then kind of came back as a cameo in Rise of Skywalker as well. And then also played Luke Skywalker again although he was digitally altered, facial, voice, everything to make him de-aged, because it was in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, so he had to be younger. So, and this was in The Mandalorian Chapter 16, which was the final episode, called The Rescue, and did that awesome walking aboard the Gideon's shuttle, and just destroying all those droids. One of those things we just wanted to see Luke Skywalker do is just use the Force to the fullest potential at the height of his Jedi-ness, on that shuttle, and then take Grogu away from the Mandalorian to go train him. And then also we saw him again in the Book of Boba Fett, one of the greater episodes of Book of Boba Fett, that had nothing to do with Boba Fett. Chapter 6, entitled "From the Desert Comes a Stranger," where we got to see Luke Skywalker there training young Grogu, which was fun. Talking to Ahsoka, one of the best. Oh my gosh, I love that scene. Just so much, like so much emotion in that scene with Ahsoka and Luke talking about the Jedi, and just and I want more of that conversation. I want more conversations between Luke and Ahsoka. I want to know what they talked about. I want to know how much like Ahsoka told him about his father at the height of when he was a Jedi. And that there was conversations from that scene. Just that little nod after the in the conversation when Ahsoka so much like your father. It just ate that scene up. Love that scene. One of my favorite episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. Again, I don't even think they had Boba Fett in that episode. But such a great scene. And then kind of giving Grogu the choice at the end. Stay with him, train as a Jedi, offering him Yoda's little lightsaber, or going with the Mandalorian, which we know what happened at that. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some more Luke. Will we? Will we not? I hope so. I really do. I really hope there'll be some flashbacks, visions, whatever, what have you, of Luke. Even honestly, Luke Skywalker. Even if they decided to do a series recasting, I think Mark Hamill would be okay. A younger version of Luke Skywalker. I would love to see some side stories of Luke Skywalker, a series of some sort. I think it would be fantastic. But let's see. Let me just check in with some things here. Going back to some of the things that Ben said. Came grips with Vader being his father. That was the moment his conflict could resolve. He hated Vader because he was told he killed his father. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then the truth came out. Favorite outside of Star Wars. Okay, Ben says favorite outside of Star Wars. The voice of the Joker. Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that yet. Which is, yes, that is amazing. So going into his animated work, like I said, his first stint was the Flash live action series, 1991, the old series, which does have connections to the new series because he did come back and play the trickster, Jesse James. But that was his first foray into comic book characters. But then when he got into voice acting, and his first voice acting, let me just go back. Before that, I did not know anything. I actually asked my wife, I said, did you know? Because growing up, I liked some corny shows growing up. I liked watching reruns. There was a TV channel, I don't know if you remember this shows my age, TV channel on premium cable, or regular pay cable, whatever it was, called Nick at Night. So it was Nickelodeon, and it just had like all old shows, old school shows, black and white, all that stuff, or just shows that my parents would have watched. But I loved them. I loved a lot of them, and I really had a this is a definite, for those of you that know me, you're gonna hold this against me someday. I know it. But one of my guilty pleasures growing up was I Dream of Jeannie. I loved I Dream of Jeannie. There was a spin-off series, and I did not know about this. My wife did not know about this. She kind of remembered it. Once I said it, she was like, I think I do remember it, but I don't remember this at all. But there was a spin-off series, animated spin-off series of I Dream of Jeannie, just called Jeannie. And Mark Hamill was the primary voice for one of the main characters of that series. And he sang the theme song. And I wish I could find this, but like, honestly, unless I guess you can find clips of it probably on YouTube, things like that, but you can't stream the series anywhere. Which I would love to go back and stream this series. I really want to go and just find the series, the song. I just want to hear the song. I want to hear Mark Hamill singing. But yeah, so he played a character called Corey Anders, and he was there for all 16 episodes of that first season, and that was it. It just ended. But yeah, so no connection to the original series, I don't think at all. But yeah, like I said, he also did the voice acting in that film Wizards in 1977. But then he did a long hiatus from voice acting because he was trying to focus on his acting career. And he came back again after he did that little one-off episode in The Flash, started doing mainly villains, in Marvel and DC series. Starting off with DC, obviously, because playing the Trickster in The Flash. But I guess somebody saw something with doing villain voices, and from 1992 to 1994, he voiced the Joker. As Ben said, one of favorite cameos, and honestly, I would agree. Besides playing himself and some of the cameos that he did, the fun that making fun of himself and certain things, which there are some other ones with like The Simpsons, voicing The Simpsons as himself, and other ones out there. The Joker, he has voiced the Joker in like so many times. Again, 1992 to 1994, Batman the Animated Series, 15 episodes there. Came back also in between that time, the animated movie, or Mask of Phantasm, as it's also known as. But then also doing the Joker, even in some crossovers. So like he did the Joker in Superman the Animated Series in 1997. But he also, again, the Joker from 1997 to 1999 in the new Batman Adventures, Batman Beyond in 2000, Return of the Joker, the Birds of Prey pilot in 2002, Justice League. He played the Joker as well as Solomon Grundy in nine episodes. 2005, Batman New Times. Yeah, just always, almost all the time coming back as the Joker. In 2016, Batman the Killing Joke, obviously the Joker in that. 2016 to 2018, Justice League Action. Yeah, just playing the Joker in so many things. Even a crossover with Scooby-Doo and the Guess Who. He played the Joker there. That was actually not too long ago in 2019, 2020. 2024, just the most recent, playing the Joker in Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. He was the Joker of Earth 12. So many times. He was the lawyer in Fall of the House of Usher. Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that. I don't know if I know that series, but yeah, I love his cameos. Another Disney crossover that he did back in 1993. There was an animated The Little Mermaid prequel series, and he played Zeus and Hans Christian Andersen. He did the voice of both of those characters there. He, I mentioned The Simpsons, Family Guy. I don't remember this episode. I got to go back and find this one. This was in 2003. In Family Guy, he actually voiced Luke and Obi-Wan in an episode called When You Wish Upon a Weinstein. I just want to know about that episode and what that was about. He also voiced in like the other series. He's voiced other comic book characters. He's voiced the Trickster in animated series as well in Justice League Unlimited. He voiced Tony Zuko in The Batman in 2006. He was the narrator in Green Arrow and the Legend of the Emerald Archer in 2007. He was the Spectre in Batman the Brave and the Bold. So somebody else other than the Joker in a Batman series. In the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he played Claw. He voiced Claw. The Superhero Squad show, he voiced Red Skull. Ultimate Spider-Man, he voiced Nightmare, Ox, and Arnim Zola, which he reprised Arnim Zola a lot as well in Marvel side. He did the Trickster and Sinestro in Lego DC Comics Superheroes, Justice League Attack of the Legion of Doom. He voiced the Swamp Thing, Trickster, and himself in 8 episodes of Justice League Action. He did Arnim Zola in Avengers Assemble, Arnim Zola in Spider-Man in 2018. Skeletor. We'll get into that later. Mervyn, the Sandman, and Mervyn Pumpkin, or the Sandman series. He has played Mervyn Pumpkinhead in 2 episodes. So, yeah. So, and then what else we got? Other cool things that he's done. Robot Chicken, one of my favorite. He voiced Star Wars or Luke Skywalker in Robot Chicken. I love Robot Chicken. I miss Robot Chicken. What else is he? I was gonna say something. Oh, Star Wars Forces of Destiny. He played Luke. He voiced Luke in 2 episodes of that. And then Masters of the Universe, which he's going on right now. It's still ongoing. He voices Skeletor, which is really amazing. I really should watch that series because I used to be kind of a big He-Man fan, but not. I hear that's a great series, and I have not watched it. I really should watch it, especially since Mark Hamill is voicing Skeletor. But what a great villain person. And then, of course, most recently, Rebuild the Galaxy, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, coming back as Luke Skywalker in a very different way. Video games, done video games voicing as well, most notably for the Wing Commander series, Colonel or Commodore Christopher Blair. He's done the Joker in some of those. Another one of my favorite video games, and this is a obscure one, but if you've never played it, honestly, so much fun. Kind of dated, but still fun. It was a Lucasfilm animated or LucasArts gaming game for the PC. It was called Full Throttle. So much fun. But he actually voiced one of the characters in that video game. That was such a fun game. I wish I could actually find that game to emulate it and play it. I would love to play that again. But I remember my brother bought it, knowing that it was Lucasfilm, and kind of just he had heard about it from a friend of his who was a big Star Wars fan. He bought it. It was a little bit like it had like one of those age 14, but back then, I mean, this is like way back then, but it was so much fun. Such a fun game, such a good story, just hilarious and fun to play through. Kind of easy. I remember playing through the entire game and beating it, but just amazing. And Mark Hamill did a voice over in that one as well. Batman Vengeance, he voiced in that. X2 Wolverine's Revenge, he actually voiced Wolverine and Omega Red. The Batman Arkham Asylum, I have those games. I've been playing those games. They're great. He does the Joker's voice in Batman Arkham Asylum. Arkham Knight, and then also Arkham VR. Um, so and what else? Arkham City Lockdown, just all those. Marvel Superhero Squad, The Infinity Gauntlet. He voiced Red Skull in that game, and then yeah, just a lot of video games under his belt. Those are just some of them. One of the interesting things that he has done recently, though, that I thought that I kind of came across was in 2022 he lent his voice to the Air Alert, the English voice for that, for an application for Ukraine's air raids alerts. And that was specifically the one developed by Ajax Systems. So that's like a real life, like that's insane, that his voice is actually used um, to give a warning to air raid alerts. That's gotta, like, man, just knowing that your voice is like to that, um, as an alert system to help save lives, like that's crazy. Um, Adrian Rupert, that's the name of the character. So you played it. Oh, that's awesome that you played it too. I would love to get a hold of that game somehow, and play that game again. I remember it. It was so much fun. So much fun. I remember a couple of things. Like the one funny thing about that game, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was like a minefield, and you had all these like toy bunnies, and you were trying to get through the minefield, and you can release the bunnies. Um, and they would go hop, and then they'd like blow up. And you realize where the mines were. That was like one thing that I remembered about that game that was just hilarious, with the bunnies exploding. um, oh my gosh, I want to play that game so bad again. But the, see, everybody remembers the bunnies exploding. And then also there was a part where you were in front of like the semi, and you're like stuck in front of the semi, and like the fan is exposed from the radiator, and you're trying to figure out what to do to the truck, and like you have some of the bunnies, and you can throw the bunnies in there, and they would just like, oh my gosh, what a great game. What a great game. Brings back some memories. Flight of the Valkyries on a toy piano. I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part. See, there's some things I don't remember. The other thing I remember was like literally you could play the game where you put your hand down and you use a knife, and like you do the and every time he stabs, like ouch. Oh. Like I remember that part of the game too. There's like stupid things that I remember about that game. I don't know. I guess it's because of the age I was, probably, with certain things. I just thought it was hilarious. But anyway, he did a lot of stage acting as well on Broadway and so forth. His debut was in 1981. He played John Merrick in The Elephant Man at the Booth Theater, but did some performances otherwise, as well. And then an audiobook thing that I thought was pretty interesting, again connecting him to Disney, or not really Disney, but he read an audiobook in 1983, The Adventures of Pinocchio. So pretty cool. A lot of stuff that Mark Hamill has done. So we continue to look for him to show up wherever, whenever in Star Wars. But I really would love to see him in Japan. That would be really cool to be able to see him in Japan. Would love to see him do another panel though. But oh, okay. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. But yeah, I didn't remember the song that was playing. But that's funny that it was the Flight of the Valkyries. That's hilarious. Oh, and then kind of some other cameos that he did in Star Wars, which I didn't know until like looking at this, but in Rise of Skywalker, he played Bulio. Do you remember Bulio? Do you remember Bulio? He played this character. Not curious. Curious if you still know who he is, because it was in a blink of an eye moment. That he played this character. But Bulio was an Ovisian male who worked as a mine overseer at the Cinta Glacier colony during the war between the First Order and the Resistance. So again, Rise of Skywalker. He was sympathetic to the Resistance, covertly sent supplies their way. After a First Order inspection team visited the colony, Bulio discovered a data file in his office labeled as highly valuable intelligence for the Resistance from a traitor within the First Order. So now, kind of getting to where this character showed up. Not wanting to transmit the data, Bulio contacted the Resistance, arranged for them to meet him face-to-face at the colony. The Millennium Falcon was sent to the meeting, and upon their arrival, Bulio transferred the file to R2-D2 on board the freighter. And then, unfortunately, after the Falcon left, Bulio was killed by the First Order, and his severed head was presented to Kylo Ren. This was the scene. It was like real quick, and I did not know it was Mark Hamill's voice. Again, it was only his voice, but there was that scene where basically they were going to get that information, and they like pulled up underneath in that colony, opened the top hatch, and Bulio was there, and kind of had like just one quick line to get that information, that valuable information out, and yeah, and that was that. But that was Mark Hamill. That was a little cameo outside of Luke Skywalker, but that was not his first. Mark Hamill also cameoed as the voice of Darth Bane in Star Wars: The Clone Wars in 2014, the episode entitled Sacrifice, which I didn't realize that was Mark Hamill's voice either. And I need to really go back and watch that episode. That's an episode I really haven't watched much, is that episode where he did Darth Bane, because it's one of those things where you hear Darth... we don't know a lot about Darth Bane, but Mark Hamill did the voice of Darth Bane, which would be interesting if we ever got a live-action version of Darth Bane. For some way or another, Mark Hamill either did the voice or played Darth Bane. Would be pretty interesting. And then one last one, he did the voice of EV-99 in The Mandalorian in 2019. Chapter 5, The Gathering. He was uncredited in that one, but he did the voice of EV-99. So a little bit of outside of Star Wars, has cameoed here and there with his voice acting work as well. So Mark Hamill, what a great actor. But so he did return in Star Wars Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. I hope I've watched that again and I've revisited it. I just watched it. We watched it yesterday. I watched the 4 episodes yesterday. My wife was around and she had not watched it yet, and she was laughing hysterically. She wasn't watching. She was kind of trying to prep for some costume stuff, but she was watching it. And by the way, I fixed my Cantomo. I don't know if anybody's ever had this problem, but I had this problem with my Cantomo from Galaxy's Edge. And if you ever have this problem, let me know, because I fixed it. But all of the little locking mechanisms got stuck up because I was trying to, I was having problems getting it open one day, and I pushed it up and I was trying to reset it. All of them got shoved up inside. That thing is a pain to reopen. And then I finally figured out how to kind of get it reset. But it's working now because I need it for Halcy-Con, because I have some coins that I've made for Halcy-Con, mainly for the Blue Crew, but also I'm trying to think. I might, because I don't have enough to give to everybody, but I might do a secret passcode. I might put the code somewhere on my Instagram page or something, and if you have the code, you can open my Cantomo and get one of the coins, the poker chips. So I might do something like that. I don't know, but anyway. Besides that, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, having a lot of fun with that. They've put some cameo, Easter egg stuff on StarWars.com, and they released a couple more. And honestly, I still keep not missing some of this. The Easter eggs are amazing, but yeah, there's they released a couple more on Star Wars, but some of the ones that I didn't notice, and I'm like, are you kidding me? How did I not notice that? That's such a cool Easter egg. This one of Darth Tico, her pendant, that was there, is the full pendant. You know how in Rise of Sky or Last Jedi, she had the half pendant medallion because half of it was her sister's, half of it was hers. But this one is the full the full design, which actually came from the prop concept designer Matthew Salvage. And it was actually, you can see this concept of this pendant, the one that she's wearing in Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, in The Art of Star Wars The Last Jedi by Phil Szostak. So yeah, her pendant is whole, basically, again, reflecting the backwards nature of the galaxy. Maybe she never had a sister in this galaxy, whatever it was, or maybe she killed her. Who knows? Who knows what happened in this weird galaxy? But yeah, it was based on that unused concept from The Last Jedi. So really cool. The one that I missed, again, which is I love, and again, one of my favorite cameos in Rebuild the Galaxy in the back there, which is Darth Nubs. Love Darth Nubs. Darth Nubs is fantastic. So much fun. I love Young Jedi Adventures. Another cameo that I kind of noticed as well, but not until the second watch, and this was one that was thrown up there on StarWars.com, was the two suns of Tatooine. Instead of being outside, they're actually light fixtures in Luke Skywalker's little home there on Tatooine. So I love that one as well, as a cool cameo that was in Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. So Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy is amazing. A lot of fun to watch. I hope you've watched it because it is amazing, and I can't wait for more. I hope they're going to do more. You never know with Disney. You never know with Disney these days. But it is a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. So again, just real quick, Halcy-Con next week. I am going to go live. I actually don't know if I'm going to go live next week. It all depends on my schedule, because again, I have off for Halcy-Con on Friday, Saturday. I'm probably going to have off on Thursday, but it just all depends on how I'm going to have off. Either they're going to give me the extra day off, and I'll be able to bridge my days off with my Friday, Saturday, or I kind of have to switch my schedule and maybe work Tuesday, Wednesday in order to get off Thursday. Just to kind of have that my peer to kind of cover for me on Thursday. But now that I know that I'm kind of helping out, assisting and volunteering Thursday night, I kind of have to be there, kind of want to be there anyway. And I kind of want to just spend the whole day leading up to that as well. I know that there's going to be people at Galaxy's Edge, so I'll probably go to Galaxy's Edge. I might go to work for a little bit in the afternoon, do some stuff with my cast because we're doing some cast appreciation stuff on that day, and then maybe change and then do the whole gala or whatever we're doing that night. I don't know. Kind of don't know how I'm going to dress that night. I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. But there's so much to do in a week coming, and I can't wait to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see everybody. Ben, thank you for joining in. It was a lot of fun seeing you. Thank you for sharing your favorite Luke moments and non-Luke moments with Mark Hamill. And can't wait to see you next week, you and Amy. So it's good you guys. I haven't seen you in a while, and can't wait to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while. I'm definitely gonna hit up my friend David Schweitz. He's doing a panel. That's one of the ones that I put in for as far as my pre-registration. That was my top pick, and then I have another one that I wanted to throw in there. But honestly, doing the panels, being a part of the panels, I'm so privileged and appreciated for that. Can't wait to do that. It'll be my first kind of like foray into that kind of stuff, and that's something that I just I dream about doing on a bigger scale. So hopefully it goes well, and maybe it'll grow into something bigger, and I can do this at other conventions. And I'm actually going to help out with the backdrops and things like that. So we'll see how well I do. This will be interesting. I don't have a lot of time, guys. But can't wait to be a part of this. Yeah, see you next week. We are the Syndicate. I don't know if I'm a part of the Syndicate. The beard may say otherwise. It's kind of like mischievous. It's getting that way. It's just growing. People are like, your beard is like really growing, but it is getting nice and long. I love this thing. Anyway. It's a fun look for me. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But I can't wait to see everybody next week. If I am off on Wednesday, I will be doing this on Wednesday night, another episode of Space Oats Live. In the meantime, catch me on YouTube. Visit the channel, join the channel, subscribe, hit those notifications. You'll know when I go live, either with Space Oats Live, which is every Wednesday usually, and then also not long ago In This Galaxy, which I do every afternoon. Until that time, until tomorrow when I do that, have a great night. Remember to do something Star Wars. Watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, do something Star Wars. Most importantly, remember, may the stars light your way. Have a great evening.